Good day, everybody. We're at September 2nd, 2025. We're going to talk about the real estate inventory here in Santa Clarita Valley and something about disclosures if you happen to be a seller or a real estate buyer to look for when you get to that part of the process, which is incredibly valuable because it really is what the seller should be aware of with regard to the property that they are selling and the one that you're buying. Let's talk about inventory, though. Right now, we have 760 total active listings on the market. We have 10 of those that are coming soon. If you haven't seen those particular listings or don't have access, hit up your agent and ask them to send you the coming soon listings. If you don't have an agent, go to Santa Clarita comingsoon.com and just request those, and I'll be able to email those to you. Those are listings you're not going to see on the syndication sites. They're not going to be out there for public purview. You have to have them emailed to you directly from an agent. So if you're not seeing those, it's quite valuable just because you might be able to get a little bit of a leg up on particular listings. Now, the market is starting to balance out. So we're seeing where buyers have more choice as far as listings go. If you track this back to 2021 and the end of 2020, our inventory was basically a third of what it is now, somewhere around 200, 300 units. Now we're pushing 760. And in fact, 3 weeks ago, we were over 800. Right now, we have that slowdown that we see every year because the kids are back into school and now people are starting to kind of get more comfortable where they are. And of course, interest rates aren't moving much. It is at a 10-month low right now, but that 10-month low doesn't mean they're anywhere in the twos or threes where people would hope they would get to. Now, we'll have to keep watching the Fed and see what they do with the Fed funds rate. Now, while that rate isn't all about mortgages, it could have some impact on the mortgage rate. Typical mortgage rates, they're always based on the 10-year bond. Whenever everything gets a little bit stronger, then of course that starts to relax. So we see mortgage rates coming down, hence being at a 10-month low for interest rates, but not being a result of the Fed moving interest rates on their end. But we'll have to keep watching and see if that's going to be something that will change here in the coming weeks. And I do know that they're going to be meeting again soon. So we'll see maybe the powers that be and the other pressure that's been added, plus maybe the economic factors would change that. And if that's the case, then we're going to go from being a more balanced market now where buyers kind of have more of a choice. We'll probably see any excess inventory eaten up. We'll also see more listings come onto the market. Probably, though, they'll be actually coming off the market in the way of getting into escrow a lot faster than people will be selling those properties, but we'll have to see. A lot of people I talk to, they're wearing those golden handcuffs. So they're at this particular juncture with the real estate that they own, that they happen to have a very low interest rate. So they have a difficult time bridging the gap between them being able to sell now and then go buy something else, because what they're buying is going to have an additional 4 or 5% interest on that particular loan. And of course, how much? Well, it's going to be a lot more than they paid for theirs when you track back to when those interest rates were in the 2s and the 3s, where they happen to be locked in now. But if interest rates overall were to come down at least somewhere close to that, I think we would see a lot of people jumping ship and moving from California out of the state. And of course, vice versa. We do have people that still, besides what you want to hear, we still have people wanting to move to California for various reasons, tech centers, these sorts of things, plus the weather. It's really difficult to beat overall, besides the earthquakes and the fires and those sorts of things. But anyway, besides that, let's get back into this. So as far as disclosure goes, one of the things that's going to happen within your real estate transaction as a seller and also a buyer, if you're a seller, you're going to be tasked with putting together disclosures. These are going to be documents related to what you know about your residence. Now, if you're a buyer looking at the disclosure package and you happen to be purchasing a foreclosure or maybe the property that was a rental for a long time, there's probably not going to be much there. Those particular homeowners, besides whatever routine maintenance they didn't live in the property, they had it rented out. As far as banks and those entities that have foreclosures or real estate owned properties or REO properties, real estate owned, they're not going to know a lot about the property either. And in some cases, they're shielded from having to give disclosure because it's a bank owned property and they really know nothing about it because the people that lived there that they gave the loan to, or maybe they rented it out at that point or whatever, but they're in the wind. They've moved on and they're not going to be able to give any information regarding the semblance of shape the house is in. But if you have a real live human seller that lived in the house, they're going to be going through this process known as disclosure, and they're going to be giving you information about the property. The disclosures themselves, some of them having to do with the wherewithal of the house, are going to be quite important and very revealing when it comes to the home inspection aspect of what you're going to be putting together on the house that you're purchasing. When your home inspector goes in there, a lot of times the good ones are going to want to see those disclosures. They're going to want to be able to gauge some information regarding what the seller said they did, or even more revealing, said they didn't do, but then reveal these issues that the home inspector came up with. And the questions always come in, well, how could the seller not have known that this particular condition existed? And then if they did, what did they do to remedy it, fix it, or repair it? But disclosures are very important. And as a real estate buyer, probably everything in real estate is important. I would read every piece of paper that's put in front of you, sent to you, especially before you sign it. Also in that process, DocuSign or Digital Ink or these online signing platforms, a lot of people love them. They're so easy. Thank God for them, right? But the problem is they almost cause it to be too easy to sign something. Usually when you put in a wet signature on something, not just a digital click here signature, usually you might take a little bit more time to peruse the document and find out what it says. In real estate, folks, please don't fall into the trap. You really need to read every piece of paper that's sent to you in Digital Ink or digital signatures or DocuSign or whatever kind of digital signing platform it is. Do yourselves a favor and please read everything. And if there's any questions, put them together in some kind of a Google Doc or an email. Just make sure you have all your questions correct. So I would have one little window open where the paperwork is that you're reading, and then I would have something else open with any potential questions that you're going to have. I would really look at it like you're researching something, because you're about to spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on a piece of real estate. So it's super good going in, knowing what you're looking at. And if you have any questions, you can definitely provide those and follow up those to your agent, whether it's about disclosures, condition of the property that you want the seller to look at, or whether it's about some issue or some writing up in the paperwork that you're seeing, so you can at least get some kind of clear semblance on it and understand what's happening and have your agent answer you directly. And finally, I'll leave you with this as we finished the show yesterday, September 1st, talking about the numbers. We don't see any decline out there as far as sales prices go here in Santa Clarita Valley. You move into the Midwest cities that aren't near major spheres of influence like Los Angeles or New York, for example, but you move into the Midwestern areas, yeah, you're going to see some dips in those prices. We haven't been affected by that yet. We do still have low inventory besides the numbers having gone up, but we're still not to that point where it's all the way a buyer's market. We still see the sellers very much in control when their properties are put on the market. Now, if they're put on at least of the past sales prices or maybe a little bit above, they go relatively quickly. We do have a longer days on market time frame, but again, still nothing crazy, 45, 50 days maximum, depending on the property, depending on the listing price. Those strategies are important to work on with your real estate agent. You as buyers, make sure that you get the information that you need to be able to ask your lender, the one that you're going to be using to get you the loan, good questions about rates and costs and what this interest rate is going to look like for you. And finally, your all-in payment. Hugely important. A lot of buyers go into it saying, well, my lender qualified me at $800,000 and that's what I want to buy. Do you know what it's going to cost you every month to live in a house that costs $800,000? That's a great question. So you need to do all of it. HOA fees, Mello-Roos fees, if they have it, HOA, if they have it, and utilities. If there's solar on the property, is there a lease involved? Are you going to have to pay for that? What's that look like? All those little fees, and at least get a ballpark besides mortgage, principal, interest, insurance, taxes, those sorts of things. What are those extra utility fees going to cost you? If the property happens to have a pool or a large yard and you're not a yard person, you want to hire somebody to do it, I'd factor that in too. If you don't want to take care of the pool maintenance yourself, I would factor that in too. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'm Connor with Honor, Santa Clarita, openhouses.com. If you want to get more information about the market, find out what's happening, Zoom me, scv.com, Zoom me, scv.com. All right, be well. We'll talk to you. We'll see you in the next one. See you tomorrow. Take care.